my name is Mullins and I am enrolled at Labette Community College public speaking class. The purpose of my speech is for me to persuade my audience to believe that cheer is in fact a sport. So, what is considered a sport? Well, according to Varsity Spirit, there are 3 things that make up a sport. 1, being physical activity. 2, being it has to be set by a governed set of rules. And 3, there has to be some sort of competition. Now, I didn't always believe that cheer is a sport until I became involved. I always thought cheerleaders stood on the sidelines and shouted encouraging phrases, but that's literally all their job was. When I became involved, I realized that there's much more to cheer than just that. So I encourage you to become involved. I encourage you to research and discover. Before forming your opinion, come to a conclusion and then form your opinion by researching. So, like I said, cheer is simply more than just shouting and standing on the sidelines. According again to Varsity Spirit, in 2011, Stunt, a competitive sport for cheer, was born. This is where the athletes combine all of their knowledge and all the aspects of cheer and compete. There are 4 quarters, just like in basketball, and each of them go head to head and compete. It is actually one of the fastest growing sports in the nation. According to active kids, if not performed correctly, it can be one of the most dangerous. This makes sense because you're lifting a physical human being into the air with no padding. Like in football, you have a helmet and stuff to cushion the blow, but in cheer, you don't have that, you just fall. Or a lot of people injure themselves because they don't stretch well enough, they lack the conditioning, and they don't practice enough. So in this speech, I will help you understand 3 components to cheer while persuading you that cheer is in fact a sport. In this following paragraph, I found all my information on Cheer Conditioning Academy. Motions. This is what this paragraph will be about. Motions are extremely important. They are the elementary, the fundamental of cheer. Uniforms were specifically designed for this sole purpose. But a lot goes into motions. It's not just moving your arm from here to there. It's your power, your positioning, your stiffness, blocking, and even your posture. Now, when I'm talking about posture, I don't just mean standing up straight. A lot of it has to do with how your arms are, your shoulders are, your neck is, your hands are, and so forth. But I feel like stiffness is probably the most noticeable. For example, in a team motion, if you don't get there quick enough, then it's all flaily. In a team motion, it's not just reaching your arms out. You also have to have your fingers in a certain position, your wrist pointed a certain angle, and they have to be positioned in the correct way. Now, not only this, you also have to hold it for that beat. A lot of people, when they count, they hold it for the 1, but they don't realize they have to hold it through until the next motion. A few other different motions that are very popular are a V and a touchdown. Now, a lot of people get these confused. A V, your arms are out like this, and there's more of an angle this way. Now, in a touchdown, though, they're more straight up, and your hands are this way. This is something that can be very confusing, but when practiced well enough and you get it down, it becomes like second nature to you. However, in stunt, they have score sheets to keep track of everybody's progress and what they're doing and where their mistakes are to help figure out who the winner will be. Something simple as where your arms are placed docks you tons of points on that competition. But like I said, with continuous stretching and tons of practice, it'll become second nature. But stretching isn't the only thing involved in arms, and arms are not the only thing involved in cheer. In jumps and kicks, you have to position your legs and your arms correctly, not just your arms, but your legs. For example, in a toe touch, your hands, like I mentioned, are in a T, but then you also have your legs to worry about. Your legs have to be in a V, but not only this, your knees have to even be pointed towards the sky, because if you point them out towards you, it becomes a different jump, or it's just not a jump at all, depending on what the rest of your motions look like. So, there are many other different types of jumps and kicks out there, A few other ones could include pike and tuck and so on and so forth. But with continuous stretching and tons of practice, just like with your motions, it'll become like second nature. But I'm gonna stress stretching one more time. Whenever I was showing off to my friends during sub-state, I was doing a whole bunch of kicks, but I decided I wouldn't stretch before doing them. When I did that, I ended up tearing a muscle in my leg, and when we made it to state, I couldn't kick with my right, but luckily for me, I like my left better. Now, those aren't the only two kicks. There's actually 4 of them. Your left and your right forward, but you also have your left and your right sideways. These can get very confusing, and it's sometimes hard to tell which way you're kicking. But with continuous stretching and tons of practice, it'll become like second nature. But stretching goes beyond just arms and legs. In fact, you can combine the two to create something so beautiful. Stunting works all muscles, according to Cheer Fit. You have 3 different types of positions you can play in stunting. Back squat, one of the most overlooked, but one of the very important positions, are the girls that stand in the back and lift the flyer, who's the girl that goes into the air, up into the air. She then has to hold the girl's study and give the extra power to throw her into the air and catch her at the end. Without her, you can't really lift the girl up to the girl's arms, the 2 side girls' arms, and you also don't have anybody to help catch, and the girl will literally just sit and fall back. Now, what are the 2 girls on the sides? They're called bases. Bases are what allow the flyer to go into the air. If you had nobody standing on the side, the back spot would help the girl run and lift her, but she just laid back on her feet, and that wouldn't be a very attractive stunt. Now, the bases also need to stay in the stunt in order to finish and allow the extra power for the girl to be caught. Like I said, without her, the girl can't be caught either. The last position is the flyer. Most people, and I even used to think this, the flyer just stands there and looks pretty and waves her arm around and chants. But actually, she has to have enough momentum to jump into the air, enough muscles to pull herself up, and she has to keep those muscles, her core and her legs, steady so that she doesn't shake or fall over. It can be very nerve-wracking, and then add your motions on top of that. But when all said and done and everybody does their positioning correctly and you pull it off, it creates tons of points for your group in stunt. Needless to say, cheer is tons of work. Let's go over the 3 fundamentals of sport one more time. We have competition, check, stunt. We have physical activity. I think we have that covered. Stunting in general is tons of work. And then if you go back with your motions and all the stretching you have to do and your jumps and kicks, all of that's exercise as well. You can't just automatically do it. You have to work your way up there. And then finally, laws or rules, or whatever you want to call them. There is tons of them. Let's start at the very beginning. Motions. There has to be motions in a specific way, like if you twist your wrist the wrong way, like I mentioned. So there's tons of rules for just motions. And then you add in jumps and kicks and stunting. And then there's even things like how long you can be on the floor, how long your dance has to be, how big the court is, or the mat in this case, and so on and so forth. There are tons of rules. So I challenge you to stretch your mind further. Stretch your mind further and understand that cheer is in fact a sport. Thank you.